When it comes to choosing the correct weight and size of cage feeder, it can be really confusing. There's loads of different sizes out there, there's loads of different weights. Now, our FXT cage feeder range comes in 3 different sizes. First up, we've got the small. Secondly, we've got the medium. And then last up, we've got the large feeder. Now, they all lend themselves perfectly to different situations, and I've got a nice simple way of looking at what feeder you're going to choose. So starting off with a small feeder, now I'm going to use that when I'm looking to catch small fish. I'm going to be having a lot of casts. I don't want to use too big a feeder because I'm going to put too much bait in. So with that, I'm looking at fish probably like roach, maybe dace, them little fish where you're going to be casting in really often, getting loads and loads of bites. You don't want to overfeed the fish, you don't want to put too much bait in. Moving up from there to the medium feeder. Now, judging by what I've just said, small fish, small feeder, you can guess what I'm going to say. Medium sort of fish, I'm generally going to use the medium feeder. When I'm not looking at casting in as often, but I'm still going to be casting fairly regular, I'm going to use that feeder, so I'm just putting a little bit more bait in to make up for the fact I'm not casting as often. So there, I'm probably looking at maybe fishing for skimmers, where the fish are sort of not big bream, they're sort of like maybe pound size. I'm going to be casting in maybe every 3-4 minutes. I'm getting a little bit of bait in there without overdoing it. And then finally, following on from that, biggest feeder I'm probably going to use for big fish. Fish like bream, barbel, carp, where either I'm going to be really aggressive and want to feed lots of bait, or I'm maybe leaving my casting a little bit longer and giving them big fish a chance to find my bait. Now, the other thing you've got to take into consideration is the weather. As it gets colder, the biggest feeder is probably going to have less and less use. You might not use it at all. And you're going to be looking at the smaller size feeders. You're probably not going to be casting as often. You don't want to put much bait in. Them fish aren't very active and you just want to take it nice and steady. And that again is where your small feeder comes in. You might be fishing for big fish, but you don't want to put a lot of bait in. Just step it down. Now, the next thing to consider is the weight of your feeder. This feeder range comes in sizes from 20 gram up to 50, and they've all got the use. First of all, distance. If you're looking at maybe making a short cast, you may be only fishing 20, 25 metres, you're going to be looking at the lightest feeder. And then as you increase your distance, start going further and further out, you're going to just start using a heavier and heavier feeder to allow you to achieve that distance. So at your longest range, you're probably going to be looking at the heaviest feeder. Now, another thing to take into consideration with the weight of your feeder is also the depth of water. On a shallow venue, you're probably going to use a light feeder. As it gets deeper, you can increase the weight of your feeder to help it, first of all, get to the bottom a little bit quicker, and then it also helps you tighten up and get a tight line to your feeder and a bend in your tip much quicker as the line's kept tight as the feeder's falling. Last up, if you're fishing on a river, you need to take into consideration the flow of the river. You need enough weight to keep your feeder in position. So as the flow gets stronger, again, you're going to increase the weight of your feeder. A simple way to look at it, once you've cast your feeder out and it's hit the bottom, if your rod's bouncing and it's indicating the feeder's moving down the river, then simply step up in your weight a little bit, go up to the next size. If that doesn't hold, step up again. And it's nice and simple. You're always going to have your feeder in place. It's not going to be moving about, spreading bait all over and potentially getting you snagged. So just a few quick tips there on how I choose the right size of feeder and the right weight. There's a lot more into it if you want to go in a lot of detail, but that's nice and simple and it's going to help you choose what feeder to use.